All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about Mike O'Hearn on the Mark Bell podcast. In this clip called Mike O'Hearn on tabloid YouTubers and rampant steroid accusations, they talk about just that. The idea behind this clip and many other clips that are on Mark Bell's podcast is that there is nuance to this discussion of natty or not callouts. They oftentimes like to bring up why doing natty or nots or just talking so much about drugs is actually damaging to people who might be getting started in the gym. There are parts of this that I agree with, and there are parts of it that I don't. Let's play a few clips from it, and then let's try to dive into a centralized thesis.
Greg Doucette. I'm going to say specific names because there are guys like this where I watch their videos. I'm like, you're giving people information, but you're allowing people to believe things that's going to make them not push themselves. Young guys are like, oh, well, yeah, that guy's on drugs, that guy's on drugs, that guy's on drugs.
Right.
There's no wonder why I look the way I do. So there's no reason for me to even try because I got to get on sauce.
So it starts off with a pretty direct call out of Greg Doucette, somebody who does natty or nots, and he did them a lot to build up his channel. Greg actually responded, and it is one of the top comments at the moment. I just speak facts is all. I don't downplay the benefits of PEDs, and I also don't tell people that they can't look good without it. I literally just give out factual info. For example, no one is going to look like Mike O'Hearn natural in their 50s, no matter how good their genetics are. But I'm not saying that those with great genetics who work really hard for it for 10 years plus can look as good as I did or better when I was natural in my teens and 20s. Now, this point that Nsima had come up with is one that is used a lot on the Mark Bell Powercast when they talk about the damages of natty or not callouts. And we're just going to call this the phone it in point. This is the idea that when somebody sees someone and then finds out that they're on gear, they decide to not even try to do whatever that thing is that someone does. It could be weightlifting, it could be powerlifting, and most of the times it's bodybuilding or something to do with aesthetics. So in my opinion, if this is the main argument against natty or not callouts, we have to weigh whether natty or not callouts are good versus bad versus this argument. And the reason why they would be considered good is to let people know that these people who they look up to are on gear and that their standard is much higher than your standard. It's important to know that certain guys, certain actors, certain physique athletes are on drugs so that we can have a better understanding of what is very good aesthetics or what is healthy. And in my opinion, right now, that outweighs the negative possibilities that Nsima and the rest of the guys are talking about. So here's Mike's attitude towards kind of the masses and their obsession with natty or not callouts. It goes in a little bit of a different direction.
So I've been healthy for a long time and been able to be active. My question is, why did I go, I can do what they did, but better? Instead of me going, well, if they're the greatest, I should be down here.
So I guess this would be another counterpoint, but it definitely misses the mark here. When somebody sees someone who's very good or very great, maybe they find out that they're on steroids, maybe they don't. Instead of saying, wow, they're the best, I shouldn't even try, they put their head down and they work, and they could be better than them or on the same level or try their hardest to be at the same level or better than them. And here's where I believe that misses the mark. If you're a beginner in the weight room, the only person you should be looking at is yourself. You shouldn't be looking at someone else and saying, I can be better than that guy. You might want to do that, but it's important to be better than you were yesterday. You shouldn't try to one-up someone else. You one-up yourself. And if you continue to do that, you'll be on the right track. And to Mike's credit, he actually kind of says that right here.
You can say whatever you want about me. I'm on it, not on it. But it's just seems like an excuse because I'm not relevant to your life. I'm not relevant to their life. So it doesn't matter if I did or didn't do it. What matters is the possibilities of what you can create for you.
So yeah, that's essentially what I just said. It's these people that you look at, everything is a relative term. Whether you think they're good or not It has nothing to do with you and yourself. We'll touch more on that in a second, but I think Mark also has a pretty good point here.
A teenager doesn't need to do that stuff.
It's not going to necessarily impact you being bit by the iron bug and wanting to go to the gym every fucking day. Right? That's the thing I think that's missing, is that you need that habit.
Yeah.
And if you're going to take steroids, it's going to be super helpful if you are already addicted to lifting or exercise in some way. So with or without them, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And I think that people like to hold on to the limiting factors.
So what Mark says is, with or without them, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. You need to be very invested in the gym in order to get results. This is kind of the catch-all argument that a lot of, people who are being called out for being fake naturals, or when somebody alludes to all of their work being set towards gear, so on and so forth. The problem is, this argument can exist at the same time as the other arguments on behalf of the fake natty callouts. You can tell someone, have the habit of going to the gym. Be obsessed with the gym. Be obsessed with your health. You can also tell them that there are people who pose as naturals who are actually steroid users, and that you shouldn't get your hopes up to look like them, because that's actually more of a toxic mindset. Those two things can operate at the same time. This is not a catch-all argument against them, as Mark would put it. The main thing that I want to draw from this is that there are levels to people's fitness and experience in the gym. So for somebody who's trying to get in the gym, if they are completely dissuaded from that by saying, look at this guy, he's on steroids, I don't want to do steroids, so I might as well not even go to the gym. That is actually a problem with the person individually themselves. And while they can still consider steroids, they still need to understand that nobody else matters but you. Nobody's results, nobody's experiences matter but yours. You need to create experiences, and you need to grow and have better experiences. That's your only goal. That's your only mindset. Now, as you start to accomplish more and more things that you didn't think were possible in the gym, you enter into an intermediate phase. And in this phase, this is the discipline phase. This is the phase where you're not entirely sure where you're headed exactly, but you know that training is better than not training. Goals will still come and go. Results will still come and go, but you know that you're going to be in the gym. This is where your discipline matters. Now, as you get into the advanced phases of lifting, this is where discipline might fizzle out, because you might be hitting plateaus. You might not be getting the same results that you did back in the intermediate phase. You begin to question a lot of things. This is where I believe that fake natty callouts are very, very important, or at least understanding that certain people are on drugs. Because at the advanced phase, that is where you can start to slightly look at what other people are doing and compare yourself to them. Mind you, this is years into training, and this is a very select amount of people. Do you see how there's a spectrum of where we can allow these things to affect us? So in weightlifting in America, it is very difficult to get away with using drugs. Automatically, a lot of you watching this are cracking your fingers and getting ready to type in some negative shit. And that's okay. My experience is in this sport. I know the people at the top. I know them very well, and I know their experiences. One of the most famous American weightlifters of my generation was Ian Wilson. Ian did things as a natural that a lot of people didn't think were possible. And even though they were very amazing lifts, snatching around 170 kilos, clean and jerking around 210 kilos at his absolute best, when he would go to compete against others around the world, people were snatching his best clean and jerk. He was getting 20th place. Now, maybe he wasn't fit for this sport, but again, we look at what the possibilities are for a natural, and he was exceeding them. Fast forward a little bit. Ian Wilson is now banned for drug use. And I don't know if you've seen his Instagram, but he snatched 187 kilos and he clean and jerked 227 kilos. Those are near 10% or greater increases on both lifts, all with a training age of, I don't know, 10, 12 years. For somebody like Ian, it is important to know what drug use does. Somebody who has dedicated their life to doing things naturally to get destroyed by people who are not. This is not, by the way, to make a hero out of Ian Wilson. This is simply the facts that I've been given. To my knowledge, Mike O'Hearn is a staunch defender of being natural. And that's not the point of this video. I'm not trying to do a natty or not on Mike O'Hearn. There are plenty of those throughout this. But I think they're trying to add nuance to the debate on the other side against the natty or not callouts. And I think Mark's point is probably the best point of them all. But even then, like I had said before, his point can exist at the same time as these counterpoints. These ones that say, hey, it's important to know who is natural and who isn't, what is expected, what is possible, and what is not possible. The most important thing about this is I want to know what you guys think about it. Do you think that they're too soft on Mike? Do you think that Mike is just crazy and that he's still defending and doing these circular arguments? Or do you actually think there's merit to it? Because for me, I think there's merit to it, but I also disagree with some of the other points. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you in the next one.